Hello there, everybody, and welcome to a new edition of Harris's Heroes, where you will find conversations with some very interesting people who have found ways to overcome life-changing challenges in their lives and are willing to share the lessons that they've learned to maybe help you find ways to do the same in yours and maybe even find that source of resilience that's in every single one of us. This week, we are joined by someone who is a very, very special guest and a special figure and a really good friend of mine. Now, I want you to meet a man whose name resonates deeply within the heart of America's most important, biggest pastime, professional football. DeMaurice Smith is the now retired executive director of the NFL Players Association. And over the past decade or so or more, 15 years, D has been nothing less than the fiercest advocate you could imagine for players and for their rights and for their needs. And over those years, he has had to navigate some pretty treacherous waters of a league filled with power struggles, negotiation battles, a tug of war between the players' needs and interests and the owners and the commissioners' needs, or rather interests. And in the course of it, he's uncovered some really incredible experiences with what he would probably describe rather as some cunning, if not conniving owners and some backstabbing players as well. And he's written about it in a new book called Tug of War, which is a perfect title for this book, as you're about to find out as we get into this conversation with D. But I want you to understand before we get into this that it's not just, though, a story about conflict. This is one of the reasons why I want D to be here today, is because it's also a story about a personal account of the mental and the physical and even psychological toll that kind of a job took on him, and the lessons that we can all learn from his experience. Please, everybody, welcome DeMaurice Smith. Big, great to see you, my man. Now that you're retired,
great to see you.
how's retirement treating you?
It is fantastic. The book has gone well. Turf Wars has done really, really well. So I've let's see, we launched on September 5th. So I'm coming up on the second month, and everything has been fantastic. It's been a good run. It's been fast. It's been hard, but I've loved the reception that people have had to Turf Wars. And first and foremost, it's just great to be here with my friend.
Well, one reason why people have got to love it is because you don't mince words and you name names. You got receipts. And for those of us who have covered or have watched all these different controversies that you've had to deal with and lead the Players Association through, whether it was Ray Rice, the Colin Kaepernick situation, the Black Lives Matter and George Floyd situation, COVID even being the biggest one. You basically were situated in between, and then you pretty much walked into this at the very beginning with the first negotiation. You walk into a situation where, on the one hand, you've got what you would describe as a snake pit of some conniving narcissists with the owners who would stab each other in the back any chance they get, in addition to the players. And then on the players' side, you had players who were like deliberately sabotaging, undermining what you were, and the union were actually trying to do in their interest. How in the hell did you navigate that and stay sane, man?
Well, you describe it well. I'm not sure I stayed sane, at least for the most part. But what I wanted to convey in Turf Wars, and I deliberately tried to make it really not a football book. It is a book about.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's not football. It's a book about race, power, culture, just the reality of what it's like to represent a group of players in a union, and exactly who the owners are, and exactly who these people are in the ecosystem of sport.
Uh-huh.
And because we've been in this, we've been both in this business, for a very long time. I have a line that I say to young people and my students all the time. Sometimes don't meet your heroes. Just don't. Right?
That's a great point. Yeah.
Don't meet your heroes.
You will be disappointed.
You will be disappointed. And the job of a union leader, I made a decision really early when I took the job, walking into the lockout in 2011, that I was going to do the job only one way. I was
Mm-hmm.
going to be a zero-sum advocate for the players. And frankly, it wasn't much different from when I was a homicide prosecutor. I was a zero-sum advocate for, the community and the citizens. And when I was a defense lawyer, I was a zero-sum advocate for the people I was representing. But it meant going 10 toes to the line against the owners, and you find out very, very quickly exactly who these people are.
And that's what happens with the reading of this book. From the get-go, we find out that you found a way to enjoy being a thorn in the side of these owners who you have absolutely no love for. Your opinion of them comes through pretty early and pretty thickly.
Not a fan, and no NFL player hired me to be a fan of the owners. And I've represented the biggest companies, some of the biggest companies in America when I was at Latham and Watkins, and when I was working for Tom Boggs at Patton Boggs.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between those people and the NFL owners, everybody who's listening to this podcast should understand that when it comes to fights between big businesses, it's brutal. It's brutal. It's ugly. But for
Mm-hmm.
the most part, when you're in a law firm context, it's framed by it's just business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I got to representing the players of the National Football League against the owners, I was stunned about how personal the owners took everything. And to me, your response to that is either one of two things. You either kind of ignore how petty they could be, how mean they could be, how short-sighted and stingy and cheap they could be. You could ignore all that,
Uh,
or you couldn't.
yeah.
And I chose B because, at the end of the day, I think the owners of the National Football League are the luckiest, most have literally rung the bell on the greatest fortune of business in America. Literally. And when you step back a little bit and take a look at exactly who these people are, let's just get one thing settled. None of these people created football. None
Uh-huh.
of these people created the game. None of these people, for the most part, built their own stadiums.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right.
we are
Yeah.
we are
The
in a
public
world
paid for
where,
most of them.
right, taxpayers pay for most of the stadiums in America right now. The people who play NFL football arrive at NFL football fully
Mm-hmm.
trained
Yeah.
because of college football.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
don't even really develop the talent. And at the end of the day, the core people who run NFL football inherited the team from their dad. So my view of them is pump the brakes,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? None of you are literally sort of this, we have this idea that, if you talk about Henry Ford, captain of industry,
Mm-hmm.
involved in streamlining or coming up with ways to make cars cheaper, or people coming up with a new idea of technology. Not these people. They benefit from a system that is predicated on a crime. I mean,
What do you mean?
so the National Football League is predicated on the fact that they have an exemption from the antitrust laws. And
Uh-huh.
the only reason they are wildly successful is they can do things that every other corporation in the country can't do. So the way that I describe it, if I'm in my class and we talk a little bit about antitrust law, don't talk about it a lot for the business school people because they get bored. But literally think about it this way: if Home Depot and Lowe's were able to merge, the price of a hammer in the United States would be $500, right? The AFL and the old American Football League and the National Football League were allowed to merge in the 1960s. And as a result of that, they have no competition of any other football. So, I have to sit down in front of a group of owners when I'm negotiating with them, and they sort of, exude this idea that they are the ones who have made this thing into such a success. And, I'm the person that's in the room and says, well, the way I look at it, you were born on third base and you act like you hit a triple.
From that perspective, that's it really makes you chafe when you see how they try to nickel and dime and how they treat the players so cheaply. And you reveal a lot of this in the book in some ways that really amaze me. But because of this, this background here, it also made me appreciate something you were talking about the sort of an evil genius here in some of
Mhm.
the owners, a couple of them in particular, who have been able to manipulate their public image in a way that so that people don't think about the things you just talked about. But in particular, and you mention names, Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones. Well, just in a nutshell, describe the arc of your relationships with them and your experience with them, and when you left the job, how did things stand with you?
I can do the easy part. When I left the job, I left the job with a clear understanding that I had a very good relationship, still have a very good relationship with Robert Kraft.
Hmm.
Uh, and I guess still, I mean, and I never had a crossword with Jerry Jones.
Hmm.
But the reality is, those two people cultivate a public image that is designed to mask just how ruthless they are.
Yeah, yeah.
And by the way, I'm not hurt by it. I'm not upset by it. It's
You don't
business.
take it personally?
No, because,
Yeah.
well, I take that back. I do take some things personally. I can tell you a quick story about Jerry Jones. It's probably 2014, 2015. We've gotten through the lockout. We now turn our attention from we had gotten to a point where we believed that we had started to fix the problem of the way concussions were being treated in the National Football League. And just to remind everybody and to put it in context, when I took the job in 2009, the National Football League had a committee that handled concussions that was called literally the Mild Traumatic Brain Injury Commission.
Mild.
The head of that commission was not a neurologist, was not a neuroscientist.
No kidding.
It was a rheumatologist.
What? As somebody who deals with arthritis?
Yes. Elliot Pellman, who headed up the Mild Traumatic Brain Committee, rheumatologist.
Which is
So
a
at the
signal that they didn't really want the committee to do anything then, huh?
100%. 100%. So we deal with that. We changed the way concussions are treated in the National Football League. Sideline concussion experts, we made sure that people had a nailed down return to play protocol. You had to have
Hmm.
neutral physicians. Then I moved to what I've become concerned about is the use of painkillers in the National Football League, and
Yeah,
particularly a painkiller called Toradol, which is basically Advil on steroids.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what's happening is in the league is literally hundreds of players are taking these Toradol shots.
No
In
guys who
order,
did,
right.
and
In
they
order to
would
play
even do
football.
it not just for games. They were doing it for practice too.
100%. And here's my problem. Medical doctors are overseeing this rampant use of Toradol that our medical professionals are saying is not only unsafe, but the amount that is being given to these players would be inconsistent with what any doctor would do in their normal practice.
Uh huh.
So we go on this really aggressive public relations campaign because that's how you get the National Football League to bend sometimes. And lo and behold, one day I'm coming home from a family vacation. I open the gate to the house. I drive in. As soon as I drive in, a car drives in behind us. My family's in the car. A guy gets out of the car and serves me with a summons to appear at a in a court in right outside of Dallas, Texas, with an allegation that I have defamed the doctor of the Dallas Cowboys.
How's that?
The case got dismissed almost immediately, but the Dallas Cowboys team doctor took offense that I was talking about this use of Toradol by players. I never mentioned his name whatsoever.
Uh huh.
But he took offense that I talked about this amount of Toradol being given to NFL players, and he personally sued me in a case. Me, not the NFLPA.
Uh huh.
Me served me at my house And look, at the end of the day, that case got dismissed.
Uh,
But the punchline to the story is this: Jerry Jones never stopped that case.
mm-hmm.
Jerry Jones knows that I'm doing my job. Jerry Jones knows that I'm being a fierce advocate for the players. And Jerry Jones let his team doctors sue me personally at my house. So at the end of the day, am I going to stand up and go on a radio show or write a book that paints these owners as, benevolent men who are just making sure that they're providing football to America? No, no. And and Robert is someone who I still consider a friend, but Robert is a tough businessman. The only difference I would say between the two is while Jerry focuses almost entirely on the Dallas Cowboys, and by the way, unabashedly so. um,
Well, it's his
Robert,
business.
it's business, his business. Robert
Mm-hmm.
doesn't focus exclusively on the New England Patriots. He thinks about the league as a whole, and that's why over the years he kind of became the one owner that if I couldn't get things done, he was the guy along with Roger that tried to get things done on the.
Interesting. But that thing with the Dallas doctors, as my folks down south would say, a stuck pig a holler. You know,
They
the only
will.
reason the only reason why they react that way is because they know they have something to be guilty about. They have something that they know that they did something wrong.
And 100%. And when that happened, what did we do? We doubled down on the press pressure on all of the doctors and got things changed. Because, once you find out that a stuck pig will squeal, you understand what gets to them. And the doctors didn't like the fact that we were putting them on point about the health care of NFL players. And by the way, that's your job.
Yeah,
That happens
exactly.
to be your job. And
Exactly.
and so this idea of holding doctors accountable, you fast forward and it was a tragic day. But I can tell you, Leon, I am absolutely convinced that the reason Damar Hamlin is alive is
Yeah.
because we then moved from Toradol to strict credentialing of all of the doctors who are team doctors and mandating that every stadium have exactly the same safety equipment as every other stadium.
So when
And
his heart, when Hamlin's heart stopped on the field, he was probably in the best place he could possibly be.
he was for that commotio cordeo injury, he was at the safest place, probably the only safest place to save his life.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Well, look, we're running out of time here, and there's so much more we've got to get to. I'm not going to let you go until we get to all of this.
I'm all
We've
yours,
only
my
talked
friend.
we've only talked about half of what you had to deal with and what you lived with, half of your job. But we're going to talk about what happens on the player side of things and what you personally went through physically and mentally as well. Because a lot of people could learn a lot from what you've gone through, DeMaurice. So we're going to take a break right now with our conversation with the retired now but former executive director of the NFL Players Association, DeMaurice Smith, and we will pick it up in part two.